in every atom, O hidden light shining in every creature, O hidden love embracing all in oneness, may each who feels himself as one with thee know he is also one with every other. Om Brothers and sisters, we welcome you all in Saturday evening meeting of Shankar Lodge, Delhi, this 7th day of August 2021. We are privileged that among us is Sister Savralina Mohanty, who will share her thoughts today on the topic Fetters on the Path of Evolution. Now I request Sister Mansi to please introduce Sister Savralina Mohanty. Sister Mansi.
Good Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Good evening and warm welcome to everyone. Today is 7th August 2021 and Suralina ji will be speaking on the topic Fetters on the Path of Evolution. So let me introduce her. We all know her. Suralina ji is an AR professional with more than 25 years of experience. She is a life member of the Theosophical Society of India since 2003. She has addressed in youth camps on motivating and leading the youth. She is associated with NGOs and organizations working for holistic development of children. She founded a new lodge, Prayas Theosophical Lodge, in the year December 2017. The members of the lodge are mostly young children and youth for whom she conducts weekly meetings and also seminars, special study classes, workshops from time to time. During her membership of the last 17 years, as she became a life member of the Theosophical Society of India in 2003, Survalina ji has also been an active Theosophical Order of Services member, working for poor and unprivileged children. She took charge of the TOS Delhi region in 2016 as the regional secretary and has been dedicatedly working under the guidance of senior members of TOS. Over to you, Suralina ji.
Thank you, Mansi. Namaste. As you know, my topic is factors on the path of evolution. We all have studied about factors and how progressively we become aware of those. And this very awareness of things that affect us or trigger our actions is the first step towards realization of life. All manifested life is sorrow unless we know how to live it. As we look around, we see there are different people at all stages of evolution. Some are in advance of others in one way or another. And also, some of us in this process of development have already succeeded in unfolding some of the higher senses which are latent in us. We all know that there is a latent power in each human being, and some of us in this process of evolution who have evolved have unfolded those higher things. And as we know, there are different stages in the earlier evolution, like the vegetable above the mineral, the animal above the vegetable, and the human above the animal. So, in the same way, the human kingdom has a definite end, a boundary, at which it passes into a kingdom, a very new kingdom, which is distinctly higher than itself, higher than the human kingdom. That beyond men, there are supermen. We all have heard about them. I read in the books, masters, adepts, highly initiated people, all are above us, beyond that boundary of our human kingdom. Human progress is slow, but it is constantly progressing. Therefore, the number of perfected human beings are also increasing day by day. And in normal times, we should need probably many births before we could reach that level. But it is possible. Possible for what? To hasten our progress on this path of evolution. to compress into a few lives the evolution which otherwise would make us struggle, would make us kind of fight against situations and stick to goodness, purity, a lot of other factors which are needed for our progress on the path. So the actual time which would have taken us many thousands of years, we could probably compress that time frame and progress, hasten our progress. I had somewhere read recently in one of the books, which I would like to quote here. There is a reference of this book. I was actually looking for it, but I couldn't get it. No soft copy or hard copy. But somewhere it was mentioned, which I kind of read and appealed to me for this particular talk which I'm giving on fetters. There it is written. There is this book called Laws of Upasana, which tells about seven qualifications. What are those? Perfect physical health, absolute mental and physical purity, unselfishness of purpose, truthfulness, courage, and intuitional perception, and calm indifference. So, if we look at these qualifications and probably many more such qualities as mentioned in other texts, we will find that basically that is good which is helping the evolution, and that is evil which is retarding it. But then in our life experiences we also observe there are pairs of opposites. These opposites of all qualifications that help in our progress are called hindrances. So there is a hindrance. When I say my hindrance is helping me in my progress, because there is a positive of this opposite to hindrance. So that means there is opposite to hindrance, which is a better qualification, which will help me in progress. So hindrances are not bad, but we need to understand them. Now, talking about common hindrances, the first one is pride. Like these are all we would have read in many textbooks of theosophical literature, but I have kind of tried to consolidate them and I have picked up some of them. Now, talking about common hindrances, first is pride. A person may have so good a conceit of himself that he is not amendable to any form of teaching, because there is this strong affirmation of I know it all, what will other teach me. There is no mental acceptance to any new learning, and also the very attitude of simply discarding of everything that comes on the way, bringing something new, something other than what one already believes or has been practicing for long. So it is all because of that false pride. I have nothing to learn. I have nothing. There is nothing new which can attract me, or there is nothing new which can teach me. These are all coming from pride. Then sometimes there is this impediment, curiosity. Not about curiosity of knowing things, curiosity about affairs of other people, and especially about their occult standing or development. So what happens? We simply forget our own thing, own behavior, own development, what we are doing, what we are not doing, but we are focusing on curiously what the other person is doing. If we closely observe human behavior that stands on their way of progress, there is this peculiar habit of wasting most of the time in what others are doing. We simply don't get focused on what we are supposed to do, what we are doing. So mostly we are amused, anxious, and worried about unimportant things, and our energy simply dies down. That's it. Also, there is this factor called temptation. We have to resist this temptation. What is this? There is this steady pressure of opinions from without for millions of people around us at thinking personal thoughts. To make us stand against this needs real effort, true courage, perseverance. We say that we are dispensers of sunlight in this lower world at our level, so we must be radiant sons of love and joy. The world may be unappreciative, uncomprehending, but our duty is to shine. Let us forget about any temptation of what people will think about us, what kind of opinion people will give on me. Let us not be worried about it if we are on the path, if we are on the track. As rightly said by an adept, think less about your rights and more about your duties. So duties are more important. Then while we are doing our duties, a very common difficulty comes in our way, that is irritability. We get irritated. People don't trust us, people don't listen to us, people are not able to understand what I'm trying to say. These common difficulties come to us. We live to a large extent in a civilization of torturing noises. Noises not just from the vehicles, noises from people's mind, unnecessary words people try to throw at you. Many other things are contributory, but principally the weariness is due to this constant noise and the pressure of so many astral bodies vibrating at different rates and all excited and disturbed by trifles. See, if there is a heavy storm, it is the wind that stirs the waves, but the waves will continue to swell long after the wind has died down. That is the effect produced on water, which is comparatively heavy. But the matter of the astral body, as we know, is very finer. It's finer than water. And the vibrations set going penetrate much more deeply and therefore produce a more lasting effect. So day in, day out, when we are dealing with people, dealing with things, dealing with situations, a lot of on impressions are falling on our astral body, our mental bodies as well. It can most effectually be removed not by focusing attention upon it, but by endeavoring to develop the opposite virtue. I know most of you are practicing this. Whenever a negative thing is coming, how we are kind of trying to develop the opposite of that and put things in place. Now, another common hindrance is self centeredness. Self-centeredness is the only form of pride, we can say, because with pride it comes to us. The personality which we have been building up for many thousands of years has grown so strong and often so self-assertive, and it is one of the hardest tasks to reverse its attitude and compel it to acquire the habit of looking at things from some other standpoint. We do not simply get ready to expand our being. There is so much of I-ness. If we don't realize it and work on it, we can no way progress. And then there are many forms of selfishness. If we read Masters on the Path, I always love to go back to Master on the Path to understand very, very basic things written there. So there I actually learned about this selfishness. I would have used this kind of examples in other talks as well, but let me repeat it here. What are these many forms of selfishness? Let us consider our day to day living and check how this selfishness operates through small acts. Laziness. We say laziness is what? Why it is selfishness? But laziness is also selfishness. Why? See, we are enjoying a book, we are enjoying a movie, we are enjoying a talk, or we are enjoying something for our own sake. We are just loving to do it, and then there is some work to be, to be done by us, fully well knowing that I have to do it. I cannot simply leave what I'm doing because, I find it very lazy to go and do it again. I am enjoying this. Why should I go and do that? This laziness is affecting others. Then there is somebody who's writing very badly, very carelessly. So he's causing inconvenience. Inconvenience to what? To people's eyes. Even people's temper. Like somebody is writing reading my writings, he's not able to understand. He would lose his temper. What is it written here? I can't even understand. What is this? So the way we speak and people do not understand bothers people. Same way, if we write something and people cannot understand it properly, that also bothers them. So very small acts of like not being lazy, writing perfectly, speaking perfectly, conversing perfectly, this will help so that people don't get irritated. Sometimes, or probably most of the times, we are so selfish, we're just thinking about ourselves. I just wrote it, let him understand or not, I don't mind. So there are little negligences which we need to understand. They could be very, very sensitive. This is how we will start self control on ourselves. Then there are people who are so inefficient. If you give them a piece of work, they'll not finish it thoroughly, but they'll give you a lot of excuses. And if we have got this habit, we don't complete something and we give excuses, then there is also a bit of selfishness in that. We are actually wasting others' time and energy, not only ours. And there are also some people, if you ask them for information, they will not even try to give you some bit of it. They'll just simply say, oh, I don't know, and they will not bother to help you out. But then there are people, if you ask them a question like, sir, I just want this information, they will not stop there. I don't know is not the stoppage for them. But what they will do is, they'll say, well, I don't know, but I'll go and find it out. And he will probably go and help you by giving some bit of information. I'm not saying here that we should forcefully answer to everybody, but if we can help the person in need by just giving a bit of information and helping him out, I don't think we are actually wasting much of our time and energy. Most of the time we are so engrossed in ourselves rather. So basically, selfishness is something which we really need to understand, because all those evil thoughts, feelings, worries, it all starts from selfishness. When I talk about worry, let me just explain worries in a bit here. This is a very serious limitation. What is called worry, being worried. If a man allows himself to be greatly worried over some problem and turns it over and over again in his mind without reaching any conclusion, he has thereby caused something like a storm in the mental body. We sometimes encounter people who would simply argue about everything, and they love the exercise so much that you can't make out whether they are on the problem side or the solution side. They will always crib. They're always cribbing, complaining, and they're always having problems in life, big or small. There is no day when they don't have a problem. Interestingly, they will close their eyes and ears to the very solution of their problem. A person of that sort has his mental body in a condition of a perpetual inflammation, and this inflammation will bring this person to constantly worry, and it will be a serious problem to bring him or her to a diseased condition. Constant worries will actually bring diseases. Then there is one other thing in our daily life, idle words, words that have no value, no meaning. We all know every word and every thought has its karma. Each word, as it is uttered, makes a little form in etheric matter, just as a thought does in the mental matter. Like thought forms, there is also this feeling forms. People sometimes talk in most extravagant way. If a thing is 100 yards distant, they'll say it is miles off. If a day is hotter than usual, they'll say, oh, it is boiling. All such things should be strictly avoided by the one who actually aspires to become a student of occultism. This is all about our day-to-day hurdles. I'm not saying them that they are serious fetters, but they will lead us to serious fetters. And while we are doing this talk around the path, I think it will be wise to refer this small book, Light on the Path, which most of us must have read. The first form of this book, as I read through it, I understood, is a palm leaf manuscript, very old. It consists of 10 leaves, and on each leaf are written 3 lines only. Each line is complete in itself, a short aphorism. I'll take up a portion from this book to emphasize the importance of good over evil. Because if there are fetters, there are certain things which will help us overcoming that also. So let us not talk about only fetters. Let us talk about good over them. In general, we talk so much about fetters, impossibilities, difficulties, hurdles, and use various such terms to highlight why our progress is slow. But let me tell you, there is more power in goodness, more power in will, more power in hope, more power in perseverance. So in this context, I would like to take up this portion from this little book. So I'll just read out, I had typed it here. It says, look for the flower to bloom in silence that follows the storm, not till then. It shall grow, it will shoot up, it will make branches and leaves and form birds while the storm continues. But not till the whole personality of the man is dissolved and melted, not until it is held by the divine fragment which has created it, not until the whole nature has yielded and become subject unto the higher self, can the bloom open. Then will come a calm such as comes in a tropical country after the heavy rain, when nature works so swiftly that one may see her action. Such a calm will come to the harassed spirit, and in deep silence, the mysterious event will occur which will prove that the way has been found. Call it by what name you will. It is a voice that speaks where there is none to speak. It is a messenger that comes, a messenger without form or substance, or it is the flower of the soul that has opened. It cannot be described by any metaphor, but it can be felt after, looked for, and desired, even amid the raging of the storm. The silence may last a moment of time, or it may last 1,000 years, but it will end. Yet, you will carry its strength with you. Again and again, the battle must be fought and won. It is only for an interval that nature can be still. Beautiful things are written here. It also says, listen to the song of life, look for it, and listen to it. First, in your own heart. At first, you may say it is not there. When I search, I find only discord. Look deeper. If again you are disappointed, pause and look deeper again. There is a natural melody, an obscure fount in every human heart. It may be hidden over and utterly concealed and silenced, but it is there. At the very base of your nature, you will find faith, hope, and love. He that chooses evil refuses to look within. Shuts his ears to the melody of his heart, as he blinds his eyes to the light of his soul. He does this because he finds it easier to live in desires. But underneath all life is the strong current that cannot be checked. The great waters are there in reality. So even though we may be only a tiny fragment indeed, a fragment of a fragment, we are nevertheless a part of a magnificent reality. There is nothing to be proud of in being only a fragment, but there is a certainty that because we are therefore part of the higher, we can eventually rise into the higher and become one therewith. That is the end and aim of our evolution. Having obtained the use of inner senses, having conquered the desires of the outer senses, having conquered the desires of the individual soul, and having obtained knowledge, let us prepare now to enter upon the new way towards reality. The path is found. Let us make ourselves ready to tread it. As Krishna says to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, kill out all desires of life. The desire lingers only in the body, the vehicle of the embodied self, the lower self, not in the higher self which is eternal or indestructible, which kills not nor is killed. Seek shelter in the eternal alone. Destroy the sense of separateness. The mind which follows the rambling senses makes the soul as helpless as the boat which the wind leads astray upon the waters. Desire for personal life, everything which energizes the personal self and responds to the gratification of the personal desire should be get rid of. One must enter into this higher life and then all personal preferences are gone. See, there is this fundamental concept in Buddhism, Sakyadit. This is a Pali term which means illusion that a person is a separate personal identity. This is related to the doctrine of skandhas of 5 aggregates which produce this illusion. It is one of the 10 fetters to overcome in spiritual initiation. So this teaching of Sakyaditi finds affirmation in theosophical literature also. In the Mahatma Letters to Epicynate, Mahatma KH states that there are really 7 skandhas, which includes the 5 traditional ones in Buddhism. Those are in Sanskrit, Nama Rupa, name and form, implying, implying the identification of oneself as embodied, Vedana, feeling, Samgya, perception, Samskara, habit, patterns, or tendencies, like our characters, Vijnana, conditioned consciousness. 2 more unnamed skandhas are also there, the delusion of individuality and Atmavada, the doctrine of self. We have also talked about different level of initiations. First initiation, second initiation. I think there was a session where Brother Pradeep Mahapatra talked about the initiations quite clearly. The first initiation expand the consciousness of the disciple into the Buddhic plane. The new initiate is born into the new life of spirit, and the expansion of consciousness he attains consists in his having opened to him for the first time that great spiritual world in which all truths are known by intuition, not by reasoning, in which the eyes of the spirit are opened and direct knowledge of spiritual truths is gained. Knowledge becomes intuitive instead of rational. The ego, having brought the lower self into harmony with himself, is now reaching upwards into the Buddhic plane, the plane of unity. It is only in this way that the man can begin to cast off the delusion of self. Because we are talking about first thing, let us cast off this delusion of my individual self, which stands in the way of his further progress. And that is why the Buddhic experience is necessary at the first initiation. After this, the work of the initiate is to ascend through the Buddhi plane. Having passed the first initiation and consciously entering the Buddhi plane, this work of developing himself on subplane after subplane now lies before the candidate, in order that he may get rid of the 3 great fetters, as they're technically called. The 3 great fetters the candidate to the second initiation has to get rid of has been described as the delusion of self, doubt or uncertainty regarding the fundamental laws of karma and reincarnation, and superstition. When those 3 fetters are utterly cast aside, when they no longer have power to hold him back, then he is ready to pass the second of the great initiations. A very great expansion and development of the mental body takes place in connection with this second initiation. When those 3 fetters are utterly cast aside, when they no longer have power to hold him back, he is ready to pass the second great initiation. We have to remember this. At this stage, no additional fetters are cast off, but it is usually a period of considerable psychic and intellectual advancement. The period after the taking of the second initiation is in many ways the most dangerous on the path. In nearly all cases, the danger comes through pride. If there is this least tinge of pride in the man's nature, he is in serious risk of a fall. That is why I started with the pride in our day-to-day life. Unless and until I am aware of my evil nature, or my basic behavioral aspect, which is actually pulling my legs to fall, I cannot understand these fetters. We cannot just talk things superficially unless and until I connect it to my day-to-day living. That is why, so even if we are talking about pride at a very day-to-day level, see, at a level of getting into a level of initiation, this is the same pride, because there is that elemental thing in this pride which will put us in risk of a fall. And if one starts on that line, he will have a terribly hard time getting back again. Just as the second initiation is principally concerned with the quickening of the lower mental body, in the third initiation, the causal body is especially developed. So we are going body by body, you can see. The ego is brought more closely into touch with the monad and is thus transfigured in very truth. Once the third initiation is attained, it is expected that the initiate will attain the fourth initiation in the same incarnation, after which there is no compulsory physical rebirth. During the time which intervenes between the third and the fourth initiations, two more weaknesses have to be get rid of forever: attraction and repulsion to all outer things. So the disciple learns in this stage to rise above attractions and repulsions, to cast them aside forever. They no longer have power to touch him. See, most of us, I have discussed, and I have also kind of seen people saying that attraction is a desire, liking something is a desire. I'll tell you, disliking something is also a desire. Repulsion is a desire too. Hating somebody is a desire too. So it is not always, attraction, likings. I'll just stop getting attracted, stop, liking things. Let me stop disliking also. So both attractions and repulsions have to be cast off. Between the third initiation and the fourth, there is that gulf of silence where the disciple hangs alone in the void with nothing on earth to trust to, nothing in heaven to look to. So free. The fourth initiation has two marked opposing aspects, one of defeat and one of victory. This initiation differs from all the others in that it has this strange double aspect, suffering and victory. We were talking about opposites. Everywhere we will get to learn about it. Always at this stage, there is suffering, physical, astral, and mental. Always there is this condemnation by the world and the apparent failure. Always there is this splendid triumph over higher planes, which, however, remains unknown to the outer world. The peculiar type of suffering which invariably accompanies this initiation clears off any areas of karma which may still stand in the initiate's way. And the patience and joyousness with which he endures them have great value in the strengthening of his character and help to determine the extent of his usefulness in the work which lies before him. Nothing matters then, only duties, only my work. The fifth initiation, that of the adept, is the final step that makes him Superman. I started talking about man, there is this kingdom, then beyond that, there is Superman. All these are so connected because he has no more to learn and has exhausted the possibilities of the human kingdom of nature. Jivan Mukta, a liberated life, a free being. Free not because of any separate independence, but because his will is one with the universal will, that of the one without a second, only one. There is but one road to the path. The ladder by which one ascends is formed of rungs of suffering and pain. This can be silenced only by the voice of virtue. If there is one single vice one has not left behind, the ladder will overthrow. Only so far as a man leaves the teaching will he be able really to understand. If he does not practice it, it will remain a sealed book to him, and he will think of it as unpractical and useless. We always think, okay, this is such a huge book, I don't know what is inside it. We read, then we don't understand, then we close it and keep it. And we say, oh, it's very useless, very unpractical. We never took the courage to practice it. Whoever has practiced, they'll vouch for it. Teachings, if not practiced, is not giving us a result. But any honest effort to live it will at once throw light upon it. Only in that way can this priceless pearl be appreciated. So it is not just about fetters are there, oh, I'm so fearful, there are so many fetters, how will I grow, how will I progress? No, there are opposites to fetters. Let us leave those. Let us try to confront our fetters. Let us try to understand. I'll tell you a very beautiful picture with a quote I saw in Facebook today. I forget who has posted it, but such a beautiful one. I just told my daughter in the afternoon today. It was written, God said, love your enemies. I started loving myself. Let us delve into it. God said, love your enemies. I started loving myself. That means I am my first enemy. I am stopping myself from my progress. The enemy is not anywhere outside. So let me fall in love with myself in the sense, hold my hand, guide myself, tread the path with all will, all perseverance. I am my guide. That is why the higher me has to hold the hand of the lower me, and then I will cast off all my fetters on the path of evolution. I will evolve. It applies to everybody. That is the truth of life. That is the truth of evolution. I think this much I could have said from whatever I studied, contemplated, and all, and whatever I little bit practice, I tried to put before you. Thank you all for listening to me.
Thank you, Sister Storlena. You have nicely elucidated the fetters or hindrances on the path of evolution in the simple, practical day-to-day life. Now I request anybody who will like to share something or want to say something. हेलो बासमती जी बोलिए.
हाँ, थैंक यू ब्रदर राजीव जी, वेरी नाइसली. हाँ, बहुत अच्छे ढंग से स्वर्लिना जी ने बताया, और इनके स्वर में जो एक दृढ़ता और शक्ति दिखाई देती है वाणी में, तो ये जो प्रैक्टिस कर रही हैं वो तो उसका भी प्रभाव रहता है. क्योंकि मुझे अच्छी तरह याद है कि एक बार स्वामी आनंद जी से मैंने ये पूछा था कि भाई मेरा बेटा कहता है कि बंद करो ये प्रवचन, जैसे उसको कुछ बताओ, आवाज दो. तो बीएससी में पढ़ रहा था वो, तो उसके माथे पे बल पड़ जाता था, तो मैं कहती थी कि तुम इसका मतलब इसको सुनना नहीं चाहते हो. तो मैंने ये बात बनारस जा करके स्वामी आनंद जी को बोली, तो उन्होंने एक बात कही जो मुझे आज एकदम स्वर्लिना जी के जो वक्तव्य दिया है उसके संबंध में याद आ गई. उन्होंने मुझे जवाब दिया, जहां से बोला जाएगा वहीं से सुना जाएगा. इसका मतलब सामने वाले पे व्यक्ति जहां से बोलता है, अंदर की जिस डेप्थ के साथ, जिन गहराइयों के साथ, और उसका इफेक्ट दूसरे पर पड़ता है. तो स्वर्लिना जी पूरी तरह से सफल रही हैं अपना प्रभाव डालने में. बहुत अच्छा एक्सप्रेस किया है उन्होंने, और मेरी शुभकामनाएं हैं कि वो आगे और भी ऐसी ओजस्वी वक्तव्य जो है दिया करें. थैंक यू, थैंक यू.
थैंक यू बासमती जी, थैंक यू. और किसी ने कुछ कहना है? हेलो शिंदे जी. हेलो शिंदे जी, आप है ना? शिंदे जी आप बताइए.
Oh, I congratulate Suvarnalina. Very nicely she dealt with the topic. Wonderfully explained. Congratulations, Suvarnalina. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Thank you, sir. Yes.
And the last word she told that really appeals to everyone. Fall in love with yourself. Fall in love with yourself. That is a wonderful statement. It is better to fall in love with ourselves, because we must love our body, we must love our heart, we must love our mind, we must love our buddhi. So then only we can become one with our own potentialities, and all the hindrance will go away. So as she said, basically human being has got faith, hope, and love. These three things she mentioned. Really, we don't have faith in our own potentialities. We don't have love with our divinity, and we don't have hope even. And therefore, we are in the illusion of time, space, and self as separation. These all are hindrance. So unless we begin to love ourselves, unless we fall in love with ourselves, then we can't move. These are the fetters. We are not loving ourselves. We are not respecting ourselves. That point is wonderful. Everybody should take, and it is wonderful practical point she has told. And she explained very well. She has studied many books and referred. I liked it. Thank you very much, Rajiv ji, also for giving me this few points to tell. Thank you.
Thank you, Shinde ji. Thank you. Pradeep Mahapatra ji.
Thank you, Rajiv ji. Very interesting, very lucidly, vividly, Sister Subralina explained it. So nice of her. Actually, the way she practiced it in her daily life, or anybody who practice in daily life, so that person, whether he or she can explain in this way, I am really very much appreciating her the way she presented the subject in a very vividly manner, and also it touched the heart of each and everyone. One thing I had actually she also narrated it. There is no separate compartment for a spiritual life, office life, family life. Everything is one life that is in your daily life, whether it is in your family, whether it is your um, doing some work in your office or in your family gathering. Everything is, you can say, it is a spiritual life, and we have to be aware of ourselves, what we are doing. The moment we are honor of ourselves, then we become the enemy of ourselves. So that is the reason Krishnamurti or Radhaji also number of time mentioned in many lectures that you are the world. Instead of we ourselves appreciating what Professor Shinde sir just mentioned, we are not appreciating ourselves, that we have the power to do succeed. You see how the hockey team, both men and women, they uh, develop this power within themselves so that they can reach at that level, at the level where every Indians became happy the way they perform in the hockey field. So like that, we should have our own faith, that is the willpower, which is always within us, and that is not available in minerals, plants, or animals. What she expressed it, that power, that is, we should have faith on it. Like Annie Besant, she is the greatest embodiment of the willpower. The willpower which is available each and every human being, but we are that is covered with many veils, many covering. So under this life that is within our family, profession, etc., etc., whatever. Here is our battleground. Here is our hockey field. We have to proceed in our journey through this life only. Thank you, Rajiv ji, giving me the opportunity to add something. Thank you, Subralena sister. You have done a tremendous speech today.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Rajiv ji.
थैंक यू प्रदीप महापात्रा जी. और लोखंडे जी, आप कुछ बोलेंगे?
हेलो. हाँ, सौरलीना जी, पहले तो मैं आपका हार्दिक अभिनंदन करता हूँ, और मेरा भी ये मानना है दिली तौर पे कि बहुत ज्यादा बड़ी बड़ी किताबों के जरिए जाने की बजाय हमारे अगल बगल में जो घटित होता है, अगल बगल अगर हम उस वॉचफुल आय से अगर उसको हम देखते हैं, तो हमको उसको देखते आना चाहिए, और अगल बगल में ही जो कुछ घटित हो रहा है उसको नोटिस करते आना चाहिए. और ये जो आपका आज का प्रवचन रहा है, कि बहुत दूर जाने की बजाय अपने आप पर ही केंद्रित होके ये करो। दूसरा पॉइंट कि अपने शत्रु पर प्रेम करना, ये बहुत बड़ा एक टास्क है। अगर ये हम इसमें सफल हो जाते हैं तो स्पिरिचुअल पाथ में हम सही ढंग से चल रहे हैं। ये उसकी एक इंडिकेशन है कि शत्रु पे भी प्रेम करना, ये बहुत बड़ी बात आपने कही है। और आपका जो आज का विषय था कि अगल बगल में अपने आजू बाजू में जो घटित हो रहा है, सेल्फ में जो घटित हो रहा है, उसको ऑब्जर्व करना और उसकी खामियों को दूर करना, मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा आपका प्रवचन। और उसके लिए थैंक यू वेरी मच सवरलीना जी, और राजीव जी को भी मैं धन्यवाद देता हूँ कि उन्होंने इस अवसर पर मुझे बोलने का मौका प्रदान किया। थैंक यू वेरी मच सवरलीना जी, फिर से आपका धन्यवाद।
थैंक यू ब्रदर।
थैंक यू लोखंडे जी। और किसी ने कुछ शेयर करना है? किसी ने और कुछ अगर बोलना है, शेयर करना है तो प्लीज ऐड करना है तो बताएं।
हेलो,
हाँ बोलिए।
मैं चंदी प्रसाद महांती हूँ, पुरी जगन्नाथ धाम पुरी से बोल रहा हूँ।
हाँ नमस्कार।
नमस्कार जी। सुब्रलिना जी भी वहीं से हैं, पुरी से हैं, हम एक ही स्कूल में गए हैं। तो उनके जो कुछ बातें जो उन्होंने बोला कि आज मुझे, मैं पहले सोचा नहीं था कि लेजीनेस इज ऑल्सो ए फॉर्म ऑफ सेल्फिशनेस, वो बहुत अच्छी बात कही है उन्होंने। तो उससे कुछ मुझे नई दिशा मिली चिंता करने के लिए। और जो बोल रहे थे कि लैक ऑफ डिजायर इज ऑल्सो ए डिजायर, तब शी हैज डन लॉट्स ऑफ रीडिंग, और उनका जो प्रवचन आज था वो बड़ा थॉट प्रोवोकिंग था, इसलिए आई जस्ट वांटेड टू से इट वाज ए वेरी नाइस प्रवचन, एंड थैंक यू सुब्रलिना जी फॉर द प्रवचन।
थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू सो मच फॉर
थैंक यू
अटेंडिंग।
थैंक यू।
मैं राजीव जी के यदि अनुमति हो तो मैं कुछ कह सकती हूँ।
अरे बिल्कुल बिल्कुल सुषमा जी, मैं तो कह रहा हूँ।
सुब्रलिना जी, आपके शब्दों में इतनी प्राण ऊर्जा होती है कि वो सीधे घर करती है और सुनने में सरल लगती है, लेकिन उसको पालन करने में वो उतनी ही कठिन है, और हम लोग सब लोग जानते हैं। तो यदि कोई ऑब्जेक्शन न करे तो मैं 2 शेर के माध्यम से आपकी बात की जस्ट कहना चाहती हूँ, है ना?
जी का आना का मतलब शेरो शायरी होना चाहिए।
नहीं, शेरो शायरी ये नहीं, उसमें एक तत्व है, एक उसमें एक निचोड़ है, एक फिलॉसफी है, फिलॉसफी है। एक तो सबसे बड़ी बात कि जब एक संग तराश मूर्ति को तराशता है, पत्थर को तराशता है, तो उसको कितनी चोटें देता है, कितनी चोटें देता है। और चोटें देते हैं तब उसके बाद वो स्कल्पचर बनाने में सफल होता है, और फिर लोग उसको अप्रिशिएट करते हैं कि इसमें जो है भाव भी है, इसमें रस भी है, इसमें रूप भी है, इसमें रंग भी है, इसमें लय भी है, इसमें ताल भी है। यानी वो टोटलिटी में है, जो मतलब जैसा ह्यूमन बीइंग को टोटलिटी में होना चाहिए, भाव, रस, ताल, लय, रंग, जो दूसरों को प्रिय लगे, तो वो ब्रह्म के समकक्ष हो जाता है। तो ये बताने के बाद मैं शेर कहती हूँ कि राज तकलीफ से वाकिफ है संग तराश, कि कितनी मुश्किल है पत्थर से सनम होने तक, कि एक ये स्कल्प्टर ही जानता है। हम अपने जीवन के संग तराश हैं, हम अपने जीवन को तराशने वाले स्कल्प्टर हैं। तो हम ही जानते हैं कि हम जितनी चोटें देंगे अपने को, यानी जितना अपने को तराशेंगे, उतना ही हम उस ब्रह्म के समकक्ष हो जाएंगे। तो राज तकलीफ से वाकिफ है संग तराश, कि वो संग तराश, वो स्कल्प्टर इस राज से अच्छी तरह वाकिफ है कि कितनी मुश्किल है पत्थर से सनम होने तक। एक पत्थर जो हम आए हैं एक्सपीरियंस लेने के लिए, और जब हम अपने चोटों के माध्यम से अपने को तराशते हैं, तब हम जो है वो एडप्ट हो जाते हैं, और फिर हम एक हायर सोल हो जाते हैं, और तब हम उसको इस एब्सोल्यूट में मिल जाते हैं। तो फिर से शेर सुनिए कि राज तकलीफ से वाकिफ है संग तराश, कि कितनी मुश्किल है पत्थर से सनम होने तक। सनम माने प्रिय बनने के लिए, इस संसार में दूसरा का प्रिय बनने के लिए, और अपने अल्टीमेट गोल में पहुंचने के लिए हमको स्वयं को तराशने की जरूरत। और वो तराशने के लिए आपने जो छेनी बताई है, छोटी छोटी जो हमको तराशना है, तब हम में वो रूप, वो रंग, वो रस, वो ताल, वो लय, वो सब होगी। और उम्र जाया कर दिए औरों के वजूद में नुक्स निकालते निकालते, इतना खुद को तराशते तो खुदा हो जाते। तो वो आपकी बात की है कि हमको खुद ही को तराशना है, अपनी छोटी छोटी चीजों को, कमियों को, लेजीनेस, हमारी जो ईगो है, वो लेजीनेस है हमारी। जो आपने एक राइटिंग की बात बहुत अच्छी कही, मैं अपने बच्चों से स्कूल में बच्चों से यही कहती हूँ, बेटा ऐसे लिखो कि दूसरा जो है पढ़ तो सके उसको, कि कहीं जो है वो आप एग्जामिनर, यदि एग्जामिनर आपको थोड़ी ना बुलाएगा आपकी राइटिंग पढ़ने के लिए। तो वो बहुत सुवरीन जी बहुत अच्छा बोलती हैं, बहुत एक्सप्रेशन है, कंटेंट है और भाव है। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद कि हम लोग जो है घर बैठे आप सब लोगों की वार्ता सुन लेते। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
थैंक यू फॉर योर शेयरिंग।
थैंक यू सुषमा जी, थैंक यू। आप शायद वही दुआ कह रही थी, सतसैया के दोहरे, ज्यो नाविक के तीर, देखन में छोटे लगे घाव करें गंभीर। ठीक है ना?
थैंक यू। क्योंकि बहुत फिलॉसफी
ठीक बात। और किसी ने कुछ कहना है? नहीं तो फिर हम लोग इसको क्लोज करेंगे। हेलो, और किसी ने कुछ शेयर करना है या ऐड करना है तो बताएं। हमारा नेक्स्ट टॉक 14 अगस्त 2021 को होगा और ये लेंगे ब्रदर SBR मिश्रा। टॉपिक होगा सेल्फ एंड नॉट सेल्फ, और ये गोरखपुर लॉज से हैं हमारे SBR मिश्रा जी। तो नेक्स्ट टॉक हमारा 14 अगस्त 2021 को, सेल्फ एंड नॉन सेल्फ। और किसी ने कुछ ऐड करना है तो अभी कर लें, अदरवाइज हम लोग शेयर करते हैं। ओम असतो मा सद्गमय, तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय, मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय। सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामया, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, न कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। ओम शांति।